Last night, TNA made their debut on AMC, and what should have been a really good episode that set the tone for the future of the company, I think it was met with a lot of criticism and a lot of negative feedback. And it didn't help when new reports came out with talent leaving the company. Now, as you guys saw, the inspiration lost to the Elegance brand. And, the inspiration is a interesting one because Fightful comes out and reports that they've not re-signed with TNA. And in addition to not re-signing with TNA, there is interest from outside of TNA, which I think you can make an argument both AEW and WWE would reportedly be interested. And I really don't have a problem with WWE or AEW snagging them. I don't think listen, let's just call it what it is. AEW has a tag team division for the women. WWE has a tag team division for the women. They can easily go there. Women's tag team wrestling needs more legitimate women's tag teams. But overall, TNA is suffering from this because there's another report from Fightful Select in which they claim sources in the company say that they are expecting to have a significant shift in the roster in the next several weeks. Those sources have expressed the hope that the shift will be for the company's betterment and freshen up the roster in their new era with AMC. Now, we know that TNA is still actively in talks with a number of talent. We know we've heard rumors of people, staying and going. We know the Rascals just left the company. I've talked about that a lot this week. But in addition to all of that, there are still talent who have not re-signed. So now we got multiple people expected to leave this company. Mind you, Steve Macklin was not at TNA on AMC. And a lot of people are starting to throw out this rumor that Steve Macklin very well could be next and he could be on his way to AEW. There is no confirmation on that. But as we podcast about things that are happening in wrestling, it is important to mention those rumors because that very well could be something that happens. I, for one, was left disappointed and a little underwhelmed with TNA. There was things that I liked about the show, but there was a lot of things I did not like about the show. And TNA needs a change. These departures can really hurt TNA. They really could. They just lost Matt Cardona. They lost Ace Austin. They lost Jordan Grace. They lost Joe Hendry. They're probably losing Leon Slater. The inspiration are gone. You got to make some changes, man. You got to make some changes. I genuinely don't know what happened with TNA last night. I said it in my live stream that I felt like it was almost like WWE Raw on Netflix. You try to do the mainstream stuff. You try to air video packages. And I understood the strategy. But then when it came down to it, the things that were happening in the ring were not as strong. And that's problematic. And I think for TNA, this is a company that is usually relatively consistent with their booking. But I cannot point my fingers at something specific here. Is it the WWE partnership? Have they become too reliant on WWE? Are they bowing down to WWE too much to the point where they're losing their identity? Because when you hear of people leaving the company, money isn't the only reason why people are leaving a company. It's not. So with this kind of departure, it's a big deal, and it should be treated as such. It should be very telling about the people who are leaving the company and not the people that are staying. Because these days, it feels like everybody is leaving the company. It feels like these days, everybody's looking to go to AEW or WWE. And let's just be really clear about one thing. I try to be positive, and while there were things I liked about TNA, and everybody knows my story, I'm a huge TNA fan at heart. But there was reports, like a month or two ago, that talent were frustrated backstage with creative direction in the company. Now, I don't know who those talents were, But are some of those talents still in the company now? May this be a lesson to the upper brass with TNA, because it is very clear you have people leaving. And it's not always about money. If Nick Nemeth could resign, if Mustafa Ali could resign, if the Hardys can resign, those talents could go anywhere else and get more money. I promise you. It is not difficult to get more money in contract negotiations, especially if you got a good agent. But if you're the upper brass of TNA, if you're Carlos Silva, you might have to start looking at making some changes backstage. This company lost Gail Kim and Scott D'Amore, and they were still doing fine for a while. But this company clearly has an issue creatively that needs to get fixed. It has to get fixed. And if it doesn't get fixed, who knows what the future of TNA on AMC looks like. And I hope, as a content creator, I hope I never have to make that video that their TV deal was canceled. Even if I liked everything about the show last night, I look at the news of all these people leaving, the roster changes, and I see the public perception completely deflated. So even if I sat here and try to pretend like everything is perfect, the perception that's out there publicly is not, and therefore public perception always wins. And if you guys don't like that, and if you're somebody who doesn't agree with public perception, you want to change the public perception, it starts within. As more people leave the company or join the company, I will obviously keep you updated, but that is just something that we need to be cognizant of. Now, I want to turn our attention to tonight's SmackDown. January 16th, WWE is in London, I believe at the Wembley Arena. We saw Leon Slater was pulled from TNA Impact on AMC, and he's been pulled from TNA Genesis. So what's happening with Leon Slater? Well, the rumor is that Leon Slater is expected to answer the Carmelo Hayes Open Challenge for the United States Championship. Oh, I can argue and rant about this too. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of people in WWE right now who could be utilized. Why not bring back Apollo Crews? We know he's cleared. We know Powerhouse Hobbs is signing with the company. Where's Rusev been? There's a lot of people who could be on WWE television right now. But let's use Leon Slater instead, the TNA guy. The guy who's not signed with the company. Who, by the way, missed TNA Impact on AMC due to visa issues. That's what they say. Is that the reason? Is that the reason? Or did WWE handicap TNA by pulling in Leon Slater for SmackDown? And that's a very valid question, because if WWE is handicapping TNA, then maybe TNA needs to be a little bit more thoughtful about these decisions that they're making, especially in partnership with WWE, which I love the partnership with WWE. But if your talent are not being utilized for your big shows, oh, that's tough. That's problematic. That's not appealing to your audience. Because had Myron Reed and Leon Slater wrestled on TNA on AMC, maybe people would be singing a different tune about the show. And don't get me wrong, I love the idea of talent exchange, but not when it comes at a cost for the other company. I have criticized this long before with AEW in New Japan. And I am now criticizing this a lot more with WWE and TNA. And this is mostly because of what we've seen with Jordan Grace, Joe Hendry, and now it just feels like it's happening with Leon Slater. And it seems like WWE is buttering up Leon Slater. Because the minute that Leon Slater's contract ends, I think WWE is going in to snag him. Which again comes at a cost for TNA. You really have to look at the effects of that partnership. Now also there is the positive that TNA has gained from WWE. TNA has got this new TV deal, which is amazing. But are they going to keep that TV deal? Is it possible that AMC in 6 months says, look, TNA is not delivering the numbers. They are not worth 30, 40, $50 million or whatever the cost may be. Right? Is that always a possibility? I think that is. I think there's no wrestling company that's safe with their television deal, and that includes WWE. If you're not bringing subscriptions, viewership, if you're not bringing good ad revenue, whatever it may be, yeah, I definitely believe you're always at risk of being canceled. Other shows get canceled all the other time. Wrestling is not immune to it. I could definitely see that being a thought. And if TNA is losing all of their top talent, then what's the benefit of TNA being on AMC? You know what I'm saying? You just got to be cognizant of that. You have to be aware of that. You cannot be in denial of that. Had Leon Slater open challenge with Carmelo Hayes 2 weeks from now, I would be okay with it. I would find it acceptable. But the reality is, look what is happening right now. This is taking place during Genesis weekend. TNA's biggest weekend in over 15 years as a company. So it just seems as if maybe some decision making could be improved there. Now, as far as Carmelo Hayes versus Leon Slater, I love the idea of that match. Two really good wrestlers going at it. Both guys have charisma. I love it. Have Leon Slater show up with the X Division Championship. Sure, I have no problem with that. Promote TNA Genesis. If you're the WWE, you got Joe Hendry, who's signed to your company, working the show. If Leon Slater is answering the open challenge, if he is in fact there, you better be promoting TNA Genesis. Promote the fact that AJ Styles was there. Promote the fact that Joe Hendry will be there at Genesis. Do it. Do what's right. Do what is best for business. Because them losing Leon Slater is a handicap, whether we want to admit it or not. Let's turn our attention to the WWE. I think this would be a good time to talk about the Street Profits, because I'm also frustrated here with WWE. Why did the WWE pull the Street Profits off of television? Why didn't they push these guys as singles guys? What happened? Well, there's actually two problems here. The first one being that WWE simply doesn't care about tag team wrestling. They don't. No matter how many times they decide to push a tag team, no matter how many times they feature a feud here and there, it never gets priority. It never gets priority. Vince McMahon didn't prioritize tag team wrestling. Triple H doesn't prioritize tag team wrestling. Hell, Tony Khan and Carlos Silva all don't prioritize tag team wrestling. I don't care what company it is. We could debate this all day. And trust me, I will literally spend 24 hours a day debating this. These companies have fallen off when it comes to tag team wrestling. So why did WWE pull Street Profits off of television? Because it's been confirmed that they're not injured. And I don't really know if we could trust Dave Meltzer, but Dave Meltzer is saying, hey, nobody's hurt. WWE decided to pull them off TV for a creative reset. Now, it is January 16th, 2026. We haven't seen the Street Profits since, I don't know, October 2025. What kind of creative reset did they need if they also weren't appearing on WWE television every week? Because long before October 2025, we weren't getting meaningful stuff with the Street Profits on WWE television. The last time the Street Profits probably did anything of relevance on WWE television was probably when Motor City Machine Guns came in and there was this nice little build between the Street Profits and DIY and MCMG. Crazy. Now, what kind of creative resets are we talking here? I think that's a legitimate question we should be asking. I think there should be some accountability held for WWE and all of these companies for the lack of focus on tag team wrestling. There has to be accountability for it. There is no way that you have some of the greatest tag teams in the world in these companies. AEW has the Young Bucks. WWE has the Usos. TNA has the Hardys. But there's still so many more great tag teams in this industry. And for some reason, they just don't get the love. They don't get the love. They don't get the appreciation. They don't get booked. They don't have serious and meaningful feuds. Where is it? I'm watching these products on a weekly basis. Where is it? Where is the focus? If WWE does not want to utilize the Street Profits, if WWE wants to do a creative reset, let me remind you guys what happened years ago. Elimination Chamber, Montez Ford literally had the crowd in the palm of his hands. And I'm not talking Montez Ford being ready for the US or Intercontinental Championship. I'm literally talking about having Montez Ford become world champion. They could have done it. But WWE has a way of doing things that sometimes I simply just can't agree with. AEW has a way of doing things I simply just can't agree with. And the same could be said about TNA, New Japan, and so forth. It actually is annoying. It is annoying. Because somebody's going to leave a comment saying, oh, well, Montez Ford, he's not a singles guy. He's not John Cena. He's not Braun Breaker. He's not this. He's not that. Well, guess what, guys? Nobody ever becomes the best. Nobody ever becomes the biggest name without some sort of chance being given. And WWE, for some reason, didn't do that with Montez Ford. And I have zero concerns, by the way. Break him up and have Angelo Dawkins go solo as well. He will be a great upper mid-card talent. And hell, if he's given a chance, you never know. Maybe even a world champion. We cannot sit here and pretend like that's not possible with any talent on a wrestling program. Mark my words. You want to be subjective and say who you like and dislike, that's fine. But if somebody isn't given a chance to be great, how do you know what their ceiling actually is? And the Street Profits are not on television, so nobody will actually know. But when they come back, they could win the tag team championship, and that would be cool. But WWE has shown us that they don't care about the tag team championships. It's a problem. Let's have a conversation about WWE's new recruiting tactics. I think this is actually a must-needed change. Dave Meltzer has reported that WWE is reportedly trying a new tryout strategy to focus on black male talent amid criticism of Paul Levesque's booking. But more specifically, WWE is looking back at indie talent. So it looks like WWE is shifting their strategy to attracting indie talent yet again. And quite frankly, I think it is the right idea. If you guys saw the list that I provided the other day about the tryouts in Orlando, there was plenty of talent from the indies. Starboy Charlie, you might remember him from GCW. LeBron Cozone, you might remember him from DPW. Yeah. It is pretty obvious that WWE is going after the indies, and quite frankly, it's the decision that makes the most sense. I will continue to criticize the NXT main event scene. It is what it is. But I'm going to continue to do that until it gets better. Clearly, the women in the Performance Center that come from gymnastics, cheerleading, dance teams, ice skating, whatever it may be, all those women that have no wrestling background, they're the ones who are actually developing the best. The men that come from football or other sports or freestyle wrestling or whatever it may be, it seems like WWE is kind of struggling to get them on TV. We heard of them going after Colby Corino. That didn't work out. He re-signed with the NWA. We heard of WWE's interest in David Finlay from New Japan Pro Wrestling. We haven't heard confirmation on that. But the idea that WWE is reportedly going after more indie talent, yeah, probably should. You got a lot of people who are qualified to join the WWE. Put them in NXT. Get them in the Performance Center. Show them the way. Do it. You just signed Powerhouse Hobbs from AEW. Isn't it really interesting, by the way, how a month ago Dave Meltzer reported that WWE was not going to be signing TNA or AEW talent, and yet here we are. We're talking about tryouts with people that have appeared in professional wrestling with an indie background. Some of these people even having appearances on AEW television. Isn't that interesting? I find it interesting. I think the idea of WWE going after indie talent just makes too much sense, but you got to have a mixture. You still need to go after those collegiate athletes. Those NIL deals are still worth it. And I don't know the math specifically here, but if I had to guess, the amount of money that it costs to produce a star out of the Performance Center probably isn't cheap. The resources to do so probably aren't cheap. So I would imagine it's actually a saving of money as well when you have an indie talent come in, because at least they have the background. At least they have the passion for this. Because if we're being realistic, if you didn't grow up being a WWE fan, if you didn't grow up being a wrestling fan, the truth is, once you get your first concussion or your first injury, you probably walk away saying, listen, I'm good. And I've complained about that quite a few times in WWE's history, because we have seen time and time again in WWE's history, there's people they join, they get hurt, and next thing you know, they're gone. Jasmine Nix, Brinley Reese, what happened to them? They got hurt, chose to no longer wrestle anymore. It just makes you think. That's all. It just makes you wonder. And then it's fascinating because you see that they release talent too. Cora Jade was gone from the company. Where's Cora Jade now? Oh, she's in TNA. Why release her in the first place? I think that's pretty valid to ask. I think that's a question everybody should be wondering. Maybe WWE could be a little bit regretful on some of those releases, because some of those people were ready and groomed for the main roster. They were already over on the WWE product. Isn't that interesting? You let go of some people who already have the experience, and instead, you start pushing other people. It simply doesn't work out. And then your strategy shifts back to, okay, we'll probably go after indie talent again. Fascinating. I think WWE has to be very, very careful with bringing in too many indie talent, because that was the downfall of Black and Gold NXT. I think you got to have a mixture of collegiate athletes and indie talent, but it's okay to sign indie talent. It's okay to sign talent from New Japan, Pro Wrestling Noah, AJPW, Stardom, TNA, AEW, GCW, MLW, NWA. Go ahead and do it. But don't go OD. Do not go OD on that, please. It was very detrimental to the brand. It was very detrimental to WWE's product. Your recruiting efforts can be the best in the world. Your developmental efforts could be the best in the world. But guess what? There's one underlying problem in WWE's product today. There's too many good people qualified for the top spot, and there's not enough room for the top spot. So that's problematic. It's definitely problematic. And for our final topic of the day, Dave Meltzer is reporting the reason for Drew McIntyre's title win. But interestingly enough, it sounds like there's some major changes for WrestleMania. Dave Meltzer claims that Triple H has grown tired and fatigued about the idea of Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes for the third time. Dave says that Triple H believes this would lead to audience fatigue. Yeah, I would agree with that. So WWE is going to do something different. Maybe it includes Drew McIntyre versus Cody versus Jacob Fatu. Maybe it's Drew McIntyre versus somebody completely new. But WWE is reportedly changing their plans. Now, I actually agree with this. I think WWE should not do the trilogy match. At the very, very least, the trilogy match should not be for the title. It should not be for the title. But what I will say is this. Drew McIntyre winning the belt was the right call. Whoever decided that, whoever made clear of that, whoever pitched that, good on you. I've been saying for a while, wrestling needs to freshen up a little bit. Take a little bit of risk. So I, for one, have been very happy about that. Nothing against Roman Reigns. I like Roman Reigns. He's probably going to take a spot in the Royal Rumble. I don't want to see him win the Royal Rumble. I don't want to see Cody Rhodes win the Royal Rumble. I don't want to see Seth Rollins return and win the Royal Rumble. I want something new. I want something fresh. I don't care how you get there, but you have the Elimination Chamber. Use that instead. The Royal Rumble, while many people were incredibly overcritical of Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble, it was something fresh. It was something new. It was something unexpected. Now that's my expectation from WWE. With professional wrestling, I want something new and something fresh. 2025, we saw a lot of complacency from these companies. All of them. Not just WWE, all of them. Complacency. And as a YouTuber, as a wrestling fan, I can watch 2-3 hour SmackDowns. I could watch 2-3 hour Raws. I could watch a 2-3 hour Dynamite special. No problem. Especially during the winter when it's cold, I have no problem. But you best believe when that weather heats up and spring and summertime come around in Michigan, I am going to want to feel the fresh air. I want to breathe the fresh air. And if WWE and AEW want my ass to sit inside and watch their damn show, you got to come through with some really good creative. And that means you have to freshen things up. That means you have to push new faces. That means you have to deliver unexpected moments, surprises, legitimate shock factor. That's what you have to do. That's what WWE has to do. That's what AEW has to do. TNA, every company. Because you guys are asking, these wrestling companies are asking us to watch a lot of television. And I enjoy it. But every summer comes around and you get some mediocre ass episode and then you're like, you know what? I'd rather go outside. And I'm not joking either. I'm being serious. I've always been real and authentic with you guys. I genuinely mean that with the bottom of my heart. You have to do something fresh. You have to get me excited. Where is that excitement that I had when The Rock showed up and beat the living hell out of Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns? Where's that booking? That style of booking, that shock factor, that holy shit, I can't miss this. I don't think any wrestling company has given us that since. Does that make me a hater, a negative Nancy? Does that make me overcritical? No, it's making me be very genuine and honest and transparent about what I feel about professional wrestling. Cody and Roman would fatigue the audience. It would. Good on Triple H for understanding that. The world title doesn't need to always be built around the same people. That's the point. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Ango Show.